And Sam, you are joined by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the biggest names to endorse Zohran Mamdani. What is the Congresswoman saying? What's her reaction tonight?
For sure. So let's start right there. Congresswoman, thank you so much. Kristen just said you were one of the biggest names to step out and to support Zohran early on in his political career. First of all, he becomes the youngest mayor in 100 years plus in New York. Are you surprised by the reality of the situation?
You know, I have to say that I'm not. I think that people across this country are really hungry for public servants that are going to put them first, for public servants that answer to them above special interests and who are laser focused on making life affordable for everyone.
We spoke with a member of the National DSA, Kareem El-Rafai, who said it's not radical to expect people to have a roof over their head and to be able to pay for groceries. This doesn't sound like a transformational idea, and yet it is connected with so many people. What do you think Mr. Mamdani's ability was to sort of relay that message, and why is it developed in a city like New York?
Well, I think it speaks to how far everyday people have been pushed in this economy and in this environment. We have record high levels of young people that are unemployed, of people who are unemployed who are being paid very low wages and can't afford life. And so I think people are receptive to a new path and a new story. And I think Zohran Mamdani really spoke to that and organized for it.
Congresswoman, it's no secret the Democratic Party has struggled in recent years to attract voters, whether it's first-generation immigrants, younger voters, educated Asian voters. I mean, these broader coalitions that we've seen attracted to Mr. Mamdani's campaign. How does that potentially provide a blueprint for other Democratic candidates?
Well, I think what we're seeing in tonight's results and in many of the communities that turned out for Zohran Mamdani tonight were many of the same communities that Donald Trump won against Democrats in November. And so this shows that there is more than one path to win and persuade independents and Trump voters. And it's not just by running in a more conservative fashion, but it can also be through a different and new message.
It's so interesting to hear you compare it to Trump in that sense, right? That brand of populism almost inverted. Do you see parallels between the basis of what drove out voters for Trump back in 2016 and what we're witnessing right now?
Well, I think we are laser focused on the working class. We don't take voters for granted. We don't take Latinos. We don't take young people. We don't take many of the communities that are historically taken for granted in our political system.
The bar is now high, right? Because he has promised voters he's going to work on free buses and rent freezes and universal child care, which we know is the most expensive part of that platform and would likely require the cooperation of the New York State legislature to raise tax revenues. How high is the bar, I guess? Do you see that becoming something that will manifest?
I think people are mobilized by this vision, and what is so important is that I think New Yorkers are pragmatic. I think New Yorkers are practical. I don't think they expect that we're going to come in on January 1st and press a button. But I do think that New Yorkers are very motivated to vote for someone who has those goals and wants to move in that direction, as opposed to no direction at all.
Well, so that's another thing that Mamdani has said, is there wasn't an affirmative message for Democrats. What's the takeaway, right? People around the country are looking at this race and saying a Democratic socialist just won office. Sure, that could work in New York City. It's never going to work in other places around the country. To them, you say what?
Well, you know, I have to say, so I'm a millennial. I'm 36 years old. And people my age, my first election was for Barack Obama when I was 18 years old. And we've been hearing Democrats be called socialists our entire voting lives. I think that as time goes on, this is not a threat that is really resonating with the majority and large pluralities of the electorate, and that this kind of name-calling doesn't really have the weight that results do have.
Can I ask you, because that's an important point, what does it mean to be a Democratic socialist? Because I realize there are so many nuances with the national organization and the local chapters and who they'll endorse and who they won't endorse and what issues are driving those decisions. What do you see as the definition of a Democratic socialist?
I mean, to me, it's this radical idea that working people have economic rights. And when you read the Constitution of this country, we have beautiful, incredible freedoms of speech, and we have so many liberties and due processes. But should we not also have the right to housing, the right to a livable wage, the right to attempt to provide health care and child providing in this country.
I would have the right to stay in communities where you've lived for years.
That's
because
right.
the expectation now is that President Trump has sort of forecast what he's going to do in New York City as it concerns potentially National Guard troops, more ICE raids. How do you see this playing out in the months ahead?
Well, we know that President Trump operates through threats. He operates through criminality. He has been convicted on 34 different criminal counts of felony. The Supreme Court has essentially authorized through their rulings his ability to commit crimes in office. And so we know that he will step outside the bounds of what is acceptable to society. But I think that our choice is, are we going to respond with fear, or are we going to respond with unity and courage?
What does that look like? I know he said he's going to be withholding funds from New York City, which I'm not even clear if he has the constitutional authority to do that. But what does the resistance look like under the administration?
I mean, of course, President Trump doesn't have the authority, but that's not something that he really cares about. But let's just say that New York City is not a place that gets pushed around, and that we have our own cards up our sleeve as well.
What is your lasting message, I guess, as we look around and we see how many hundreds of people are here right now, but millions that are watching around the country? What are the takeaways from Zohran Mamdani's ascendance from someone no one had heard of as of about January to winning the primary and now the next mayor of New York?
That as dark as this time is, as challenging as this moment can be, anything is still possible in America.
We appreciate your enthusiasm and your optimism and your time. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. It was great to talk with you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.